For this week's data set, I decided to use stock prices and sort of understand the relationship between the assets that we decide to enter in our portfolio. If you're saving or investing any money in the stock market and you would like to know how your stocks interact with each other, what are some of the key things that you should look for, how do you decide which stocks to add into your portfolio depending on your um, appetite for risk. So how are those portfolios constructed? And if you were to construct it, how would you do that? Um, it was not mainly an idea of to teach you how to do all these sort of financial analysis, but more to see how we can apply the tools of tools that we are learning this week to a financial context. Right? So it's just an application for this week. So what you have here is you have the stock prices dating from, so these are weekly stock prices dating from March 10th, 1986 all the way till 2019, I think like October 28th. Right? So these are weekly prices. There's the weekly closing prices for Microsoft, McDonald's, and Bank of America. What we are going to do is we're going to calculate the return. So if you're holding this for a week, what kind of return are you looking at for that week? When we're doing this, we want to see how we're creating functions and what kind of functions are we using. We want to use sum product. I'll show you how to use sum product in this exercise, how to find these statistical functions, average, standard deviation, how to use data analysis and solver in Excel. So this is a neat application because you can apply all the things that you're learning this week. So now that we have the prices, the next thing we want to do is we want to calculate return, because returns are actually the most important information. It's not how much the stock price is, but how much is the stock price in relation to how much it was before, right? We always want to make a profit or get some capital gain. So how much is that capital gain that we're looking at? So next we'll calculate returns for Microsoft, McDonald's, and Bank of America. But we're also going to create a portfolio. That is, if these three stocks were in your portfolio, what kind of return are you looking at? What kind of risk are you looking at? So first we're going to calculate return. So you have Microsoft. So these columns are going to contain all the weekly returns. So to calculate the return, we need the price at the end of the week and the price at the beginning of the week. The percentage change in that price, that's the return for that particular week. So for this week of March 10th to March 17th, we want to calculate the return. This is equal to price in March 17th minus price on March 10th. And to make it a percentage, we want to divide it by the original price, the old price, the buying price, or the starting price. Sorry. Divided by the starting price. Okay. So that was the return. So you can see that the prices dropped. It was 10 cents, and that went down to 0.092. There was a negative return of 7% for that week. Right? We can compute the rest in the same way. This is equal to the return from week 24 minus week 17 divided by 17. Or 24th minus 17 divided by 17. Looks like here the price did not change, so that's why you have a 0. And then we can drag this forward for McDonald's and Bank of America. So there you have the returns for McDonald's, and then you have the return for Bank of America. You may have noticed that we did not fill these cells over here. This is because if we wanted to calculate the return for this week, we would need the price information from the week before. We don't have that, so it's not possible to compute the returns for that week. So whenever you're calculating return, you always get n-1 return. So if you have n prices, you'll get n-1 return. All right, we'll come back to the portfolio in a little bit. Before we go to the portfolio and then calculate average and standard deviation, assign weights to these stocks for our portfolio, what we'll do next is we'll look into the correlation of these returns. So when you are investing, one of the key things is you want diversification. You want to diversify your portfolio as much as possible. So if you are willing to diversify, if you are holding stocks that are very similar to each other, that is, if one stock's prices increase, the other stock prices also increase, then it really doesn't help with the diversification. But if you have stocks that are different from each other, so if one increases, if one falls, maybe the other one does not fall, or it doesn't fall by as much, then you still get to recover some of your return. So that's a key thing that investors are looking for when they want to reduce risk, is you want to diversify your portfolio. So to do that, we use correlation to see how we look up correlations among stocks to see how correlated they are. If the correlation is high or closer to 1, that means that the stock prices move in similar directions, in similar magnitudes. If they're different from 1, then the lower they are from 1, that means the more different their movements are, the price movements are. So we're going to use a correlation, calculate correlation between Microsoft and McDonald's, McDonald's and Bank of America, and then Bank of America and Microsoft. So that's 3 different correlations that you have to calculate. It's not that difficult. You can individually do them, but say instead of having just 3, we had 4 or 5 stocks over here. Now you can't just, now it's not just 3, there's interactions between each one of them, right? So we have quite a few correlations to calculate then. One of the easiest ways to calculate it is to use the correlation matrix under data. So if you go to data analysis, and I'll show you in a bit, I know I skipped over that part, I'll show you in a bit how to get these add-ins in Excel. So today I'm doing the recording from from an Apple device, so the instructions might be a little different from the examples that you might have seen. Only the download instructions are different for the add-ins. All right, so let's get the correlation. So under data analysis, if you select correlation, it'll give you the it'll ask you things about what you want to find correlations among. So what's the input range? So let's select the input range. You can select the the labels. There's a way that you can check and let Excel know that those are your labels. Okay. So that's my input range, all the stock returns, and then it was previously checked. If your box is not checked, then check that, saying that labels are in the first row. So labels are in the first row. And then for output range, you can use a different worksheet, a whole new workbook, but I like to see all at the same place. So I'll set the output range. I want my correlation matrix to fall somewhere here. It won't be that big. Okay. All right, so there you go. You have the correlation matrix. Let me merge it and name it correlation matrix. Right? So this shows you the correlation between Microsoft and Microsoft. Of course, they're the same and same stock, so then you'll get a correlation of 1. McDonald's and Microsoft looks like they have a bit on the lower side of correlation, 0.255. Same thing with Bank of America and Microsoft, and McDonald's and Bank of America. These are not filled because it'll give you the exact same numbers. McDonald's and Microsoft, that's the same as this one, Microsoft and McDonald's. Okay. Looks like we did pick like a few stocks that are not as highly correlated. The correlations seem to be pretty small among each combination. Okay, I'm going to stop here. For the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to look into how to construct a portfolio, and then how to find the returns, standard deviation, that means like the risk and returns for your stocks and for your portfolio. We'll also look into how to calculate or how to get descriptive statistics from Excel.